Welcome back to Panatel's. This is a place where dark history slowly comes to light, and forgotten stories are finally heard at last. In 1900, the island believed it had time. Galveston, Texas, September, thick with heat and salt. An island barely 9 feet above the Gulf of Mexico, stretched thin like a wager against nature. The year turned slowly here. Money flowed. Ships came and went. The city called itself the Wall Street of the South, and the sea watched. The morning of September 8th arrived under a bleached, strange sky. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't violent. It was just wrong. The air pressed close, heavy and humid on the skin. Birds, usually a constant chorus, vanished. The wind stalled as if holding its breath. There were no radios to scream warnings across the airwaves. No satellites tracking the deadly spirals of a coming storm. There were only barometers dipping low and lower, and a few uneasy men along the docks. Men who had learned to listen to the water instead of official forecasts. By mid-morning, the waves began to crawl inland. They weren't crashing. They were advancing, street by street, step by patient, relentless step. At first, it was a novelty. Children splashed in the rising water. Merchants swept it from their shops, annoyed but not yet alarmed. Families moved their expensive rugs upstairs and told each other this was normal. Galveston had survived storms before. Galveston always survived. By early afternoon, the Gulf had swallowed the streets whole. Horses, trapped in their stables, drowned where they stood. The steel ribbons of the rail lines disappeared under churning gray water. The horizon erased itself, replaced by a single moving wall of rain and foam. Then the wind returned. It arrived without apology, a physical force that tore at the city. Windows shattered outward, exploding into the storm. Roofs peeled back like lids from tin cans and vanished into the gray chaos. Telegraph poles, the city's lifelines to the outside world, snapped like dry bones. The city's voice, the sound of bells, of wheels on cobblestone, of human noise, was crushed beneath a single, unending roar that never paused to breathe. People ran. Then they couldn't. The storm surge came fast and final. 15 feet of seawater, driven by hurricane winds later estimated to exceed 130 miles per hour, slammed into the island. There was nowhere higher to go. There were no hills. There was no escape. Entire houses, ripped from their foundations, broke free and began to move. They slammed into one another in the rising dark, forming massive, horrifying rafts of wreckage wood, iron, furniture, and bodies rolling through the city with unstoppable force. Some structures held for minutes, some for only seconds. Inside those homes, families clung together as the walls trembled around them. They listened to the sound of nails screaming as they were ripped from the wood. They felt the floor lift beneath their feet, the impossible sensation of their solid world becoming unmoored. And then collapse. The world splintered into darkness and water. Night fell without ceremony. Oil lamps died. Candles drowned. The moon disappeared behind racing clouds. Rain lashed sideways, sharp enough to sting the skin like thrown sand. The wind did not howl. It screamed. Survivors would later say it sounded alive, not random. It sounded intentional. People floated in the absolute darkness, gripping doors, beams, even corpse, as anything solid enough to delay the inevitable. Some prayed aloud, their voices stolen by the gale. Some whispered the names of their loved ones into the rain. Others were pulled under so quietly, so quickly, that no one even noticed they were gone. The storm did not end quickly. It lingered, hour after hour of punishment, of impact, of drowning. The assault was relentless, a sustained fury that ground the city to pieces. By dawn, Galveston was no longer a city. It was debris. More than 3,000 buildings were destroyed outright. Another 3,000 were shattered beyond any hope of repair. Entire neighborhoods were erased, leaving only waterlogged foundations and tangled, unrecognizable wreckage. And the bodies lay everywhere, in the splintered branches of trees, in the middle of what used to be streets, entwined in iron fences, pinned beneath collapsed walls. There were so many dead that identification became impossible. So many that burial became a problem of logistics, not of ritual or respect. The sheer scale of the death was incomprehensible. At first, they loaded the bodies onto barges and sent them out to sea, hoping the Gulf would claim its own. But the Gulf rejected them. In a final, gruesome act, the tide returned the dead to shore. Then the fires began. Mass cremations burned day and night, a constant, grim reminder of the loss. Smoke hung over the island for weeks, a haze that was heavy and sweet and utterly unforgettable. Survivors said it clung to their clothes, to their hair, to their memories. No one ever agreed on the final count. 6,000, 8,000. Some whispered the number was even higher. The records were lost. The witnesses were broken. The truth, like so much else, had drowned alongside the city. In the years that followed, Galveston did rebuild. They raised the very land itself, elevating the city grade by several feet. They constructed a massive 17-foot seawall, a concrete barrier against the ocean's wrath. They rewrote their map and called it progress, but something never returned. The confidence, the swagger of the Wall Street of the South had faded. The city's economic dominance slipped inland to the safer port of Houston. And beneath every rebuilt street, every new foundation, lay the unspoken knowledge of how quickly, how completely it had all been taken away. Even now, when storms gather in the Gulf, the island grows quiet, the air thickens, the water moves differently. Because Galveston remembers 1900. It remembers the night the sea climbed higher than belief. And it knows the water never promises mercy twice. Thanks for watching. If you found this story powerful, please consider liking this video and subscribing for more explorations into the past. Stay curious.